Single dad waited alone every Christmas, until a homeless single mom and daughter knocked on his door. Opening scene: the silence before Christmas. Snow fell in soft, endless whispers over the small town of Maplewood, the kind of place that looked like it belonged on a Christmas card. Cozy, glowing windows, and laughter echoing down the street. But at the very end of Willow Lane stood a house that never lit up. Inside, Daniel Harper, 38, sat by the fireplace, a half-decorated tree behind him. The ornaments stayed in their box year after year, yet he still unpacked them, maybe out of habit, maybe out of hope. For 10 years, Daniel had spent Christmas alone. Once, he'd been the kind of dad who strung lights across the roof, baked cookies with his little boy, and sang off-key Christmas carols just to make his wife laugh. But that was before the accident. Before the phone call that took away his wife Emily and their son Ben, both gone on a snowy December night. Every year since, Daniel left one plate on the table, one mug by the fire, and waited. Not because he expected them to return, but because letting go felt like betrayal. Scene 2: the knock. It was Christmas Eve, 9:47 p.m. outside. The snow thickened, and the wind howled against the windows. Daniel stared at the flickering flame in the fireplace when suddenly, knock, knock, knock. The sound startled him. He hadn't had a visitor on Christmas Eve in a decade. When he opened the door, two figures stood there: a young woman, no older than 30, clutching the hand of a little girl. Both were shivering, snow dusting their hair and shoulders. "Please," the woman said softly, "our car broke down a mile up the road. I've been trying to get my daughter warm, but the cold." Her voice cracked, and Daniel noticed the child's blue lips and trembling hands. Without a word, he opened the door wide. "Come in." The woman hesitated. "We don't want to bother you, sir." "You're not," he said quietly. "No one should be out there tonight." Scene 3: a warm fire and cold truths. Inside, the warmth wrapped around them like a long-lost blanket. The little girl's cheeks began to flush again as Daniel handed her a mug of cocoa, the one he always made for Ben, every Christmas Eve. "I'm Daniel," he said, setting another log on the fire. "I'm Lena, and this is my daughter, Mia," the woman replied softly. Lena's clothes were worn, her shoes soaked. It didn't take Daniel long to realize she wasn't just stranded. She was homeless. "I've been staying in my car," she admitted quietly, embarrassed. "Lost my job in October. We've been trying to get to my sister's place in Denver, but..." She trailed off, brushing a tear before it fell. Daniel's heart tightened. For a moment, he saw Emily in her tired, protective, and doing everything for her child. "Stay here tonight," he said firmly. "Both of you." "The storm's not letting up." Lena blinked, as if she hadn't heard right. "We couldn't possibly." "You can, it's Christmas." Scene 4: laughter returns to the house. That night, something changed in Daniel's quiet home. Mia, full of curiosity, explored the house and found the box of Christmas ornaments sitting by the tree. "Why isn't your tree finished?" she asked innocently. Daniel hesitated. "I never got around to it." Mia tilted her head. "Can I help?" Before he could answer, she was already hanging a shiny red ball on a low branch. Lena tried to stop her, but Daniel smiled faintly. "Let her," he said. Within minutes, the room was filled with the sound of giggles, rustling wrapping paper, and the clink of ornaments. For the first time in 10 years, Daniel didn't hear silence, he heard life. When they were done, Mia looked up proudly. It's perfect. Daniel looked at the tree glowing, warm, and alive and whispered, yeah, it really is. Scene 5. The gift he didn't expect. Later that night, as Mia slept curled up on the couch under a blanket, Daniel found Lena sitting by the fire, her eyes lost in the flames. I don't know how to thank you, she said softly. No one's ever helped us like this. Daniel shook his head. You don't owe me anything. She looked around the room, her gaze landing on a framed photo, a woman and a little boy. Your family. He nodded, voice tight. My wife and son. Lost them 10 years ago. Christmas Eve. Lena's eyes glistened. I'm so sorry. Daniel managed a sad smile. You know, I thought Christmas was done for me. But tonight. I think they'd be happy to see this house full again. She whispered, I think so too. Scene 6. Christmas morning. When Daniel woke, sunlight spilled across the snow outside. The smell of pancakes filled the air. In the kitchen, Lena was cooking, Mia humming softly beside her. Merry Christmas. The little girl chirped. For a moment, Daniel just stood there stunned. His empty kitchen wasn't empty anymore. They ate together, laughed together, and when Mia tore open the small present Daniel had quickly wrapped, an old teddy bear that once belonged to Ben, she hugged it like it was the world's most precious gift. Thank you, Mr. Daniel, she said, eyes shining. He swallowed hard. You're welcome, sweetheart. Scene 7. The choice. That afternoon, Lena packed their few belongings. We'll try to catch a bus to Denver, she said, forcing a smile. Daniel stood at the door, silent. Part of him wanted to say goodbye, the other part couldn't bear to. Wait, he said finally. You don't have to rush. Stay for a while. Get back on your feet. Tears welled in her eyes. You've already done so much. He smiled gently. Maybe you're not the only one who needed saving. Scene 8. A new kind of family. Weeks passed. Snow melted into spring. Lena found work at a local diner, and Mia started school, and somehow, Daniel's quiet house turned into a home again. He fixed up the spare room for Mia, built her a swing in the backyard, and every morning she ran to him shouting, Good morning, Mr. Daniel. One evening, Lena stood at the porch watching the sunset. You've given us more than shelter, she said softly. You gave us a family again. Daniel looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years, his heart felt whole. Funny, he said, smiling, you did the same for me. Final scene. The next Christmas Eve. A year later, the house on Willow Lane glowed brighter than any other. Laughter and music filled the air. Mia placed a new ornament on the tree, a small wooden heart that read Our First Christmas Together. Daniel looked around the room at the woman who once knocked on his door, at the little girl who brought his home back to life, and whispered to himself, Guess I wasn't waiting alone after all. Outside, the snow began to fall again, soft, silent, and beautiful, as if the heavens themselves were watching over them. Ending message. Sometimes, the people we least expect arrive in our darkest winters, not to take shelter, but to remind us that love, in any form, is the greatest gift of all.